Since March of 2020, so much has changed. How we work, how we live, the tools we use, the way we collaborate. Hello and welcome to The Bridge. Join host Scott Kinka in a series of discussions of how some of the top leaders in technology bridged their businesses, technology, roadmaps, and lives into their new hybrid work reality. Our hope is that their insights and experiences will help you on your journey in business and in life, from who we were to who we are today. And maybe it'll help you get better prepared for whatever comes next. The Bridge is a service of Bridgepoint Technologies, one of the nation's leading IT advisory, procurement, and lifecycle management companies. Now, here's your host.
Hi, and welcome to The Bridge. I'm Scott Kinka. My guest on this episode is Ashish Seth. He's the Vice President of Product Management at RingCentral. Ashish is a recent addition to RingCentral. He's got a legacy in contact center, and that's his charter at Ring, mind you, focusing on the RingCentral contact center product. He was the former Chief Product Officer at LifeSize, who, if you recall, acquired contact center vendor Serenova. He was also at one point the Vice President of Products at Nice in Contact. So this is a contact center guy. He's been in Silicon Valley, at the cutting edge for 20 years. Interestingly enough, he changed jobs twice during the pandemic. I asked him, like I've asked some of our other guests, if he considers himself part of the Great Resignation. He had a really interesting response. He said he was part of the Great Opportunity. And one other thing he added there was breakdowns lead to breakthroughs, a quote that got our producer Gene jumping out of his chair a little bit. He echoed a theme that we've heard from several guests, that the pandemic was an accelerator for cloud communications and customer experience technologies. Frankly, we've had security, network, and data center vendors say the exact same thing. I asked him to explain RingCentral's strategy in light of the pandemic. And, it was kind of interesting. I mean, he said what you would expect. UC, CC, want to connect them. But for them, it was about intelligent experiences, right? Phone, video, meetings, contact center agents together in a single application. And to him, he felt like the opportunity was very real because of hybrid work, not sort of in conflict with hybrid work, right? How he sees it, where RingCentral's customers are, when most of us talk about hybrid work, we talk about this happy medium between being in the office, being on the road like I am today, and being at home. And it's really more of an option-based scenario. Ashish's thought was that it's really about work styles, about cognitive enablement, about enabling the styles of work. So in his mind, some people should always be at home. Some people should always be in the office. And the key is to equip each one of the work styles with the tools that work for them and enable them to have their place in this sort of connected workforce, function-based as opposed to option-based hybrid work, which was just a really interesting way of looking at it. Since we've both been in the business of developing contact center software, we were talking a lot about where the agent sits going forward, which he believes will fall into remote work now more than ever, given the transiency of the labor force and the fact that it's just easy to stand up an agent that way. But we talked a lot about what would be lost in that environment. And the real thing is peer-to-peer engagement, tapping someone on the shoulder, getting help, or even just therapy after a difficult interaction. Also missing, really, when you can't sort of tap the shoulder, is the role of the subject matter expert in the contact center. Much harder to engage them now. And that really brought it back for me to this idea of the connected experience, right? Some of these SMEs are not agents. And regardless of who you execute, who you escalate to, those escalations need to be seamless. The contact center solution in a business that's historically sort of sat alone, it's been its own island, but now you've got this blend of mobile video meetings, traditional calls into the contact center. That led us into an interesting conversation about the lines of really who is an agent in the modern customer experience. Those lines are blurring because customers want to interact, differently. The information workers never really thought of themselves as agents, and now they're in these workflows. It's really a shift of how we think about customer experience. not sitting off to the side of the business. And of course, look, as a UC provider, I asked Ashish about Teams, about Zoom, and where he sees RingCentral sitting, how the market sees them. And his answer, was that they're a complement. They believe they deliver the connected work experience where a truly voice-centric business is going to focus on a voice-centric provider like Ring, where other businesses will choose a collab first experience, but integrate it with, their quality, their five nines, their international reach on the backside. So they are a Microsoft partner, as an example. So we had a very interesting discussion on direct routing as a result. We talked about hybrid hosted PBXs and kind of what that means going forward and really how all that works. And then lastly, at the end, we had a great chat about virtual reality in the workplace, which, not here yet, but certainly I said to him that I would bring him back on the show when these workplace technologies start to get there. So looking forward to that in a year or so, maybe two, maybe three. But in the meantime, this is my conversation with Ashish Seth, who is the Vice President of Product at RingCentral. Hi, and welcome to The Bridge. I'm your host, Scott Kinka. Joining me in studio today is Ashish Seth, who is the Vice President of Product Management at RingCentral. How are you today, Ashish?
Scott, doing very well, and thanks for having me on your podcast.
Excited to do so. I've been looking forward to speaking with you and understanding a little bit more about what's going on over at RingCentral right now. It's rare. We spent some time in the pre-show trying to figure out how we know each other. We vaguely looked at each other's LinkedIn posts and histories, and I think we might have figured it out. It might have been when I was at Evolve IP and you were at Life Size, and we did a lot of stuff on the device side of the house, and maybe, perhaps, I'm not sure. But I just spilled a little bit of the beans. Tell us a little bit about your background before RingCentral, how long you've been there, what you did before that.
Yeah, happy to. Yeah, so myself, Ashish Seth, I started at RingCentral earlier part of the year, and my charter here is to product manage our contact center portfolio, right?
Yeah.
And prior to coming to RingCentral, I was the chief product officer at Lifesize, which some of the audience may be familiar. They had the meeting rooms and the cameras along with the contact center solution. And then prior to that, I was VP of products at Nice in Contact. And before that, I probably won't go into too many details, but most of my career has been in building, implementing, positioning software for customer experience, communication, and collaboration. So that's really my background. And the sum of it, I hope, is what I'm applying here at RingCentral to I guess, build the best of UC and CC and bring it to market.
Fantastic. And just for my own edification, I'm trying to remember Life Size, the contact center there was an acquisition at one point, correct?
Indeed, yes.
Yeah. What was the name of the company? That's like, it's torturing me now.
Now it was Serenova.
Okay.
So,
Yes, correct.
so
Okay.
for those in the know of contact center world, Life Size cut its teeth in building the best meeting room camera systems, right? And then there was Serenova, which was cloud contact center, private equity backed. It was a roll up, and the whole intent was to bring it together.
Fantastic. So I get it. Okay. So before we jump into RingCentral, just that was your career. How about a little bit about you? Where do you live? What do you do for fun? Tell us about your family. Give us a little bit of background so we can get to know you.
Absolutely. I'm based here in the Bay Area,
Okay.
very much where RingCentral is headquartered. So RingCentral is in Belmont. I live about 20 miles south in a town called Los Altos, close to Palo Alto, but pretty much Silicon Valley. I've been here, 20 plus years, loving every minute of it. This is where I think it's ground zero for tech, if you will, or
Mm-hmm.
at least most of us in Silicon Valley still believe that to be true, right?
Yeah,
And
I think it's true.
Yeah, all right, I'll take that. Yeah, so a lot of people might disagree, but I still tend to believe that, and enjoying every minute of being in the thick of technology. And uh, as far as my personal life or family, if you will, I'm been happily married for a number of years. Won't date myself that way, but yeah, been number of years. I have a high schooler who's soon to get to college. So outside of work, that keeps me fairly busy. Which
Gotcha.
college, where, college trips, etc., etc. And you know how it's to deal with teenagers, right? They have an opinion no matter what. So,
Oh, certainly.
uh,
I am right in the middle of college searches right now with my youngest, so
indeed,
I
indeed.
can empathize there. Um, Ashish, you moved your job twice in the pandemic. If I look at your LinkedIn profile, um, does that make you part of the Great Resignation? What, or was it just opportunity? Or tell me about that. That's interesting. It's not uncommon to see one, but it looks like twice. If I got that right.
Yeah, I think it would be a combination of the two, right?
Yeah.
Yes, part of the great resignation, but also part of the great opportunity that you know that comes along when I guess events like these happen, right? I often say sometimes breakdowns can lead to breakthroughs, and that applies in careers and job changes. So, put it simply, yes, the pandemic, you could count it as part of resignation wave, but
Hmm.
you could also count it as, hey, this was an accelerator for cloud and communications and contact center. And it was also the opportunity that each of these companies provided, which I guess brings me to where I am.
Absolutely, makes sense. Gene just gave me the high sign that that was a quote there that he's gonna make sure that he gets a quote card on you. Nice work as we go through that.
We'll
I
take
want to
it. We'll take
explore.
it.
I want to come back to the pandemic because we always start there, and I think we're in a good spot around product right now. I mean, you run product management for RingCentral. You've got a legacy both in UC, but a lot of time in contact center. Um,
Yes.
and in a lot of ways, the contact center agent is kind of the original work from home worker in a lot of cases, right? I mean, it's been for years and years and years, we've been spreading agents out. Tell me how contact center fits into the overall uh, kind of product vision for Ring Central as you guys go forward.
I think excellent question, right? I think if you think about what's driving Ring Central today, is our mission is, helping organizations get the best of the connected, intelligent experiences,
Okay.
right? What that really means is, if you just go back to the prior part, right? Yes, the pandemic happened. Even now, the pandemic seems to be in the rear view, and it's been replaced with geopolitical events, inflation,
Sure.
supply chain issues. So the whole, the disruption is also leading to a pivot, right? Wherein organizations now just literally have to, I'm stating the obvious, empower their workforce, which is by nature going to remain hybrid,
Hmm.
right? Doesn't matter. You can be an employee in a back office function, or you can be an agent or an employee in a front office or a customer experience side of things. So to get that, to empower this new sort of way of working, uh, Ring Central is all about bringing these experiences together, right? Connected, intelligent experiences, which, put it in plain English or plain translation, you got the unified communications, which is phone, messaging, video together, and you get it together with the contact center, because your contact center are also your employees who are now dealing with the front end. We tend to
Hmm.
believe that we want to bring the best of UC plus CC together. So that's how my role as someone who drives the contact center portfolio fits into the larger scheme of things. Let Ring Central bring connected experiences to the forefront by bringing the best of UC and CC together.
Fantastic. There was a lot there. And
Indeed.
I'll try to mention it all and unpack it. So I get connected experiences. And so let's just talk about what our experience as you're aware, Bridgepoint, our advisors are all over the country meeting with
Hmm.
CIOs. And it's interesting, we in a lot of ways businesses largely reacted very quickly, and did a great job. Thank you, Go Cloud providers, right? Thank you, thank Ring Central and Lifesize, and
Yes.
and all the companies that you've worked for and I've worked for in the past, right? For helping businesses through the pandemic. But in a lot of ways, we rushed into solutions, and and many of these episodes we talk about sort of unpacking experiences and figuring out what our new normal looks like, both from a work perspective and technically. I'll get to technically in a minute. Let's do work perspective. You said hybrid on a go forward basis, obviously for the agent. Have our customers actually figured out what that means yet? Or are they still sort of, you know, playing around the edges of, are you back? Is it totally optional? Like getting out of the tech side and moving to the rest of the C suite, is this still a moving target in your mind?
I think I would still say it's a bit of a moving target, but it is somewhere in the arc of, completely. Let me rephrase that. Right, it's still a moving target, but I think organizations are increasingly figuring out what they need to settle into in the long
Okay.
term. Right, and what I mean there is, the initial reaction was, okay, everyone's remote. Okay, now pandemic's back, now we need to figure out, okay, come back to office, right? But then what's really happened along the way is the realization that, you know different functions require different types of work styles, different types of cognitive engagement, right? So the where I feel it will likely settle in is based on role and responsibility, along with the nature of work and the cognitive engagement required for it. We will be working in more of an hybrid environment wherein certain functions can always be more productive completely remote, versus there will be functions which are more productive in hybrid environment. And then there are certain functions there is no way out, you are back in the office and you need to equip them with the
Got it.
best capabilities to be productive there. So
So in
that's
your
what I
mind,
see. Yeah.
yeah. So in your mind, more function based than option based. Is that a
Correct.
way? Okay. Now that makes a
Correct.
lot of sense. And one of those is obviously the contact center agent, as we go there. Do you think that the days of the gigantic, sort of uh, cube farm contact centers is largely over? Is contact center an information work job that will be largely remote? Do you feel in the coming years?
Excellent question. I think increasingly it will go in that direction. So I'm glad you brought up that, the visual sort of picture of like a building and a
Hmm.
floor and contact center agents all logged in and cubicles. Um, I think there will be some part of it, especially in large captive contact centers, especially not in North America, that might still be there,
Yeah,
right? But the vast majority in North America will be remote, right?
got it.
So that's how I see it. So the trajectory is pretty much in remote or hybrid. It will be in that remote or hybrid spectrum. There may be still remnants where, or there may be still some areas wherein a captive facility with large BPOs may still make sense to come back to office
Yeah,
in the traditional environment. And that's what we're seeing with just talking to, my job gives me the privilege of talking to a lot of customers,
sure.
right? In fact, about 2 weeks ago, we were at our customer advisory board, and
Hmm.
these were the topics of discussion, and the assessment that I provided you here, which is sort of moving more hybrid, is what they're also seeing in their
Yeah.
workforce. So yeah.
Ashish, you've got a lot of time in contact center. Um, I spent a lot of time writing and developing in the contact center space as well. Um, what's lost in the agent experience when you don't have the cube farm in the big building? Like, what are the things that contact center managers are contending with? And it's a two-part question. I'll give you the second part so you can think about it and the answer on the first part, which is then, what's lost, but then what's our responsibility to help them get back, and how do we do that with technology? With the agent not being so easy to train somebody over the shoulder, right? And
Yeah.
we don't have that. Um, but what's lost, and how do we solve it as technologists? How can we help?
I think excellently juxtaposed questions. I think the first one, what's lost? I mean, clearly, right? Let me, and I'll give you a little bit of my own little experience, right?
Sure,
So,
please.
way back earlier in my career, right, I actually, believe it or not, have been on the front line of tech support,
Okay.
taking phone calls, right? And I distinctly remember, you know, um, working like a odd hour shift, taking phone calls in. The best part of that job for the agent used to be the peer-to-peer connections, right?
Yeah.
Working with colleagues, raising your hand up and saying, hey, I need help, right? Your supervisor coming in and saying, look, yeah, you're dealing with a customer, difficult customer situation. Let me come in and help you out,
Yeah.
right? So that job, like, while we quite forget that the agent's job is not an easy one, right? It's they're reacting to very, dynamic situations, and what helped them do that job effectively in an office was that ability to tap someone on the shoulder, talk to
Hmm.
their boss, and get the right help and input immediately. We lost that when we went remote. It's gone,
Yeah.
right? Now you can formally say that, oh, that if I translate that into contact center jargon, it's access to SMEs, a subject matter expert, peer-to-peer collaboration,
Yeah.
supervisory intervention. Those things are now not as easy. They're all remote. So that's part
Yep.
one,
Okay.
which is your perfect segue into the second one. How do we
Yep.
solve that, right? Which is again goes back to what we at RingCentral have been saying. It's about now driving the connected experiences. Earlier, the thesis was you got the employee collaboration solutions, you got to name them, you know them, right? Even the audience can name 10 just like that, right? Then you got the contact center side, and yeah, that's a different world. But bridging that now is how we are solving it,
Hmm.
right? To solve for this situation wherein agents can't quite access their peers or supervisors with a raise of a hand, you take that now in a remote environment. We have looked at bringing unified communications and contact centers together. This is how we are bridging that gap, filling that gap, and I might say eventually maybe even providing a superior experience if used effectively. So let me give you examples there.
Hmm.
Peer to peer, right? In today's world, if you're taking a very difficult customer conversation and you need to go beyond your current group of employees, easy to, if you had the right solution in hand, easy to chat, easy to get on video, get the right input while you're on the call, right? Same thing with the supervisor. While the supervisor may be sitting at home across the country and you're taking a call here in another part of the country, if you had a situation, you could simply immediately reach out to your supervisor and again initiate a conversation. The modality is your choice, right? Because of the solutions and the technology,
Yeah.
or the means, right? You could be on mobile, you could be on video, you could be on messaging. But bottom line, what was we are able to now give you a similar enhanced experience because we are connecting the UC and the CC world together as a solution to the lack of, hey, raise your hand and get the help you need.
Got it. And in the simplest form, what that means is a tightly integrated user experience that has agent tools and employee tools in a lot of
Correct.
ways, right? In the same client, if I'm thinking about that correctly.
Hey, you said it really well. In fact, better than I did. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But
Yes.
but let me ask you a question then. It's often, I mean, I've been out with CIOs and, talking about contact center and communications technologies. And, you get in and if you sell it right, if you're engaged correctly, and we certainly talk with our strategists about approaching it this way, it it's not about the technology, it's about the workflows. Like, who are your
Yep.
humans and what do these humans do and how do they work and what are the tools that they need, and you're approaching it from a very process centric perspective, and hopefully you arrive at technology, but you're
Hmm.
identifying those people. Oftentimes in those conversations, um, you get the group that goes, but I'm not an agent, right? Because you're
Hmm.
going through the process and you're like, oh well, there's an opportunity, right? And that group doesn't envision themselves in the job of customer service in the same way we've historically thought of agents. Um,
Yep.
do you find that line as as we get home, as you're succeeding, I would suspect with your customers in the job of connecting these experiences, does do the humans that we consider agents, and and I guess it has a connotation for generally for information workers, but does the line move back towards the business? Are there more people than historically involved in queues, in workflows than were in the past if you do this right?
I think very insightful question, if you will, right? I think I find that the line has started to blur, as well as, or you can call it blur, or also move a little towards, like, every employee today is in a sense a customer facing employee,
Got
right?
you. Yeah.
Because in today's economy, I think what's differentiating, and there's so much of literature out there, I don't even have to kind of say. Bottom line, we all agree that customer service is becoming a big differentiation,
Yeah.
right? That's what drives retention, more revenue, and long-term happy customers. So with that mindset, I think what I'm finding is, companies have started to take that and permeate that as part of the culture. So no matter what your function, your
Yeah.
ability to help a customer situation is treated with high priority.
Yeah.
With that in mind, the what you said, the classical delineation of an agent versus a non-agent or a regular employee, while that designation may be there, but functionally that line blurs and people do jump in and kind of help out where they need to, and in fact it almost is required to do that now
Yeah.
for organizations. And one more point I will say there, just
Please.
so, and in that process, again, the interesting insights I get is RingCentral covers a broad spectrum of customer base, right? It's your SMB, right up to large enterprises. Let's not forget, in the SMB world, that was always the case. The person who took the phone call,
Yeah.
is also the person who might be the owner of the business, and he might also be the person who may actually end up, uh, you know, doing the customer service aspect of it, right?
Yep.
So that line was always sort of thin in the world of SMB. I see that same sort of approach now going more and more towards the larger enterprises.
Got it. Interesting. All right, so let me take it up one level. So you've got, pandemic happened. We sent everybody home, and they got on collaboration platforms, which we'll talk about in a minute. The agents went off, and they, thankfully that, many large businesses were already in hosted solutions, were already in as a service solution. So the agents went home, and as you said, they'll probably stay there, right? And you guys are focusing on, integrating those experiences. That all makes a lot of sense. Let's go over to the collaboration side for a minute, though, while we're here.
Mhm.
We are in the business of meeting with a lot of CIOs and directors of IT who are now trying to figure out what this new hybrid, maybe we have an answer, maybe we don't, right? From the C-level executives, reality looks like on a go forward basis. But what we do know is that we were all ran home, and, frankly, the way that we continued to connect is through collaboration experiences. And in a
Mhm.
lot of ways, we went, in terms of at least the business's priority, from a very kind of voice centric solution to a collab centric solution. And in the middle of that, a few, you know, new people came to the party, right? Zoom became a
Mhm.
verb. Teams got just turned on because of the proliferation of Office 365 already out there in environments. And now we've got confused end users about what to do when we come back to the office, even partly back to the office. Is my collab solution my phone system? Is my phone system? How does all that work? Just where does Ring Central stand on this kind of? It's a little bit of a holy war looming, to be honest with you. Where do you all stand sort of in the collab first, voice first, and how do you play in that ecosystem right now with the your UCAS solutions?
No, again, an excellent solution, right? Sorry, excellent question there. Sorry. I think there are two parts to it. I think as a company, RingCentral, I've said, right, our driving force has been the connected experiences with the UC plus CC. And we tend to believe that an organization can completely standardize on all their communication needs on the RingCentral platform,
Mm-hmm.
because we quite frankly do deliver, the best of telephony, the best of video, the best of messaging and collaboration, aligned with the best of contact center, right? And we truly believe that we bring the best solution. So that's one part of it, and a lot of our customers derive that benefit. To your second point, though, yes, there are newer entrants, some larger, some verbs, right, in themselves,
Yeah.
um, and they're really good at what they do as well, right? We respect that, and our point of view there is that it's maybe if let's talk about teams, if you will, right? Um, we coexist and we complement, right, in that case. And I'll give you the best, the most logical way of how we do that, and the most sort of customer benefiting way, right? Team does a great job with the collaboration side. Yeah, but when it comes to external communications, right, talking to your customers, to your partners, bottom line, any function wherein you need telephony, and telephony being the most critical cog of an organization's ability to connect to the external world.
Yeah.
We believe that the ring central capability of 5 nines, global network, superior quality, um, the advanced PBX capabilities, the reportings that go with it. I think there is that aspect of it. We bring it to teams with a truly well integrated solution, and our point of view there is that if your organization truly believes that voice has to, it allows you to put the best foot forward with your external world, your customers,
Mm-hmm.
you need something like RingCentral to put that best foot forward. So
Got it.
that's how we complement with teams. And I'm a product guy, so I often talk about features and functionality. We have lots of customers using our integration with the direct routing option. There are other customers who use the embedded option, meaning right inside of Teams, you will have the embedded RingCentral app, which can help you make efficient external phone calls. Um, so we give our customers the option of basically taking the best of telephony that RingCentral offers, completely integrated into Teams. And not to forget, I'm the contact center guy as well.
Yeah.
We get you the contact center experience also fully integrated.
Got it. So in one of those scenarios, if they're married there from a collaboration perspective, you will integrate telephony, and I'll try to summarize that quickly. Agent, put the experience inside of Teams if that's necessary.
Exactly.
Um, if it is a scenario where perhaps they're highly voice centric, but they'd like a little integration, you probably go maybe with the Ring Central app, so they've got the more detailed experience, and then there's some interplay. If they're like, hey, I need the dependability, but I'm going to live inside the Teams app, then you might go direct routing. It's really back to that earlier conversation of who are your humans, what do they do,
Yes.
how do they need to work, how can we best support that? And that, I guess, is maybe a decent definition for the connected experience, right? um,
Well said. Well
Getting back
said,
to the
brother.
early part of it. Well, this was super enlightening, Ashish. I really appreciate the time. I want to wrap with just a couple fun questions at the end. I'll start you with a soft landing in between. It's sort of tech, but
Sure.
sort of personal. So I need you to make for me just an outlandish prediction, a shameless prediction for the next 18 to 24 months, whether it's in tech or the world or geopolitical or whatever it is. Tell me what's going to happen in the next 18 to 24 months. And we're going to do an episode in a year and go back and look at everybody's predictions. So tell me what Ashish is thinking is going to go down in the short order here.
So shameless, or so rather, prediction number one would be that. Well, this is like hybrid. It's all hybrid's here to stay, and you will see a lot more technological innovations. I think we will move past we will eventually get to a point of what's virtual reality and what's virtual workspace supposed to mean, right? So we
Okay.
will be to in a year or now from now we will be talking less about hey, people have gone remote, right? We will be talking about how does virtual reality now augment that hybrid workforce.
Interesting. Okay. I really like that one. And that could be a whole other podcast, but we don't have time for that
I
now.
just that was
I
my
may
plan.
have you back. D- this is a yes or no. Are you guys thinking about, kind of connected experiences into more of a VR approach to workspaces over time?
Absolutely yes.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll learn more. Maybe I get you on here next year and we talk about that. All right. Whatever the next, you know, world event is, let's the zombie apocalypse, let's say. You've got one app left on either your laptop or on your phone. Only one app you can use. What's that app?
RingCentral.
You're totally allowed to do that. And of course,
No, no,
fantastic.
I'll tell
We
you
don't even
why.
need to go any further.
I can connect with you, me, colleagues, friends, family, in all in one app. Doesn't matter which
Fantastic.
modality. So I need to stay connected, right? That's really what I'm looking for. So there
I
you go.
love it. I love it. Last one. Here's a fun one. You get to pick your next job. and but you have to pick from one of these three. And little hint, they're all supporting roles. This is a little bit of a psychological study. So you're either the bass player in your favorite band,
Okay.
the supporting actor, not the lead actor, mind you, in your favorite movie, or I'm just going to make a broad strokes assumption here, given your geography. You get to be like the third down, gadget play running back for the San Francisco 49ers. Which one would that be?
I'll take number 3, running back for 49ers. They need all the
Okay,
help.
I like that. You look, you're a product guy, so you're a gadget guy by default, right? You love making stuff that blows people's minds. So I appreciate that. Ashish, this was an absolute delight, despite some of the technical problems that we started with here in the studio. So I appreciate that. I'm looking forward to getting this episode out, and we're going to have you back because I want to talk about VR in the workplace sometime next year. I think that's an interesting opportunity for us to get together.
Sounds like a plan. I'll look forward to that.
Fantastic. Well, Ashish, RingCentral. I'm Scott Kinka, your host, Chief Strategy Officer at Bridgepoint Technologies, and we're looking forward to seeing you soon on another episode of The Bridge.
Thank you.
Listen, if you made it this far, there must have been some good content, or you're just a fan, or a relative of mine. In either case, we appreciate you spending your most valuable asset with us, your time. We don't take that lightly. We'd also like to say one more time that we are appreciative of Bridgepoint Technologies and their belief and sponsorship of this show. We hope that if you or someone you know is thinking about your company's digital transformation or simply the next IT project that you may not have that resources, budget, or time to get to, I'm sure that Bridgepoint, one of the country's fastest growing technology advisory and procurement firms, can help. Check out Bridgepoint at bridgepointtechnologies.com. Don't forget the E on Bridgepoint, or simply reach out to me at Skinka, SKINKA, at bpt3.net. Also, take a minute, please, if you would, to give us a 5-star review on your favorite platform. It helps gives us the visibility to reach other people like you. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Bridge. I am Scott Kinka, and until next time, there's a lot of noise out there. In business and in life, do what you can to be the signal. Thanks.